Hey guys, welcome back to the Editor's Hive, and today we are discussing thumbnails. Somebody DM'd me on Instagram and asked me how I make my thumbnails look the way they look, and I thought I would just make a video for y'all and show you some of my tricks. I'm gonna try to change it up a little bit because I know different YouTube channels need different type of thumbnails. You understand? So I'm gonna do my best to try and change it up. But basically, this formula applies to any type of thumbnail you want to make, right? So before we get into that, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and let's get right into it. So right now we are in Photoshop right here, and first thing you need to do is set the right type of dimensions. So I'm gonna set this to 1920 by 1080, right? Make sure this is pixels right here. Resolution is okay at 72, so I don't need to change it, and I'm gonna click create. So once we are here, the first thing we need to do is brainstorm how we want our thumbnail to look like. What is our video about? And we need to portray what our video is about with an image and some text. Plus, we need to make it eye-catching at the same time. So it needs to be easy to read and eye-catching at the same time. First option you would go for is a screenshot in the video. So if you are a blogger or a channel that really you show your face, the first option you'd go for is a screenshot from the video, which you would paste here and then edit. But if you're a channel like me and you don't show your face, you are gonna need to download some photos. So for that, I use unsplash.com. I'm gonna go here and search for unsplash.com. Unsplash.com is a copyright-free site where you can get images to use for your thumbnails for free, copyright-free. Nobody's gonna claim a copyright for these images, and it's a spot where you can find any type of image. So I'm gonna search for something. Let's say you are a cooking channel. I'm gonna search for cooking. Let it load out, and first thing you want to do is search for horizontal images that have that are not vertical. You understand? Images like this, images you don't really have to scale in when you put it in Photoshop, because once you scale an image like this in Photoshop, it's gonna lose a lot of resolution. Let me show you how that looks like. So if we copy this and bring it back to our Photoshop, to make it fit our dimensions, we would have to rescale it in, right? So if I hold shift here and rescale it in, it loses resolution, and the picture isn't seen at all anymore. You understand? So we don't need images like this. We are gonna go back and search for a horizontal image. Let me look for an image here we can use as an example. So we are gonna select an image like this, right? Once we find our image, we are going to click copy image, right? And we are gonna paste our image into Photoshop, right? So you see this fits right into our dimensions already. So once we have our image already loaded in, so I'm gonna flip this and make sure it's on a different side. Better. Now the second step is applying our text. So I'm gonna just type in cooking tutorial, right? Make this white. So one tip I would give you if you are using text is to make one text really bold and big so that it's easy to spot when somebody sees it on YouTube, and the other one a bit abstract, and maybe you can add some different colors to it, but anything to make it spicy and easy to see would really work. So I'm gonna change mine to a font that's really bigger and better, something like this, and I'm gonna make this huge, like really big, right? And I'm gonna make the downer font, the lower font, I'm gonna change it to something abstract, something like no, not this. I'm gonna change it to something like something simple to see but still nice. Change it to something like this. Then I'm gonna make it a bit easy to spot also. Right, see, now this is how our font looks like. The next thing we have to decide is where to actually place it. So you can make it. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger actually. I'm gonna hold in shift, and I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger right there. So now we have our text, we have our photo. Second thing to do is make our text pop out a little bit. So I'm gonna click back to my text, and I'm gonna go down here to where it says FX, and I'm gonna click right there, and I'm gonna add a drop shadow to my text, right? So that it pops out a little bit more. So I think you can spot the difference right now. If I preview this, our text looks a little bit better right now. So I'm gonna click OK with that. After that, what I normally like doing with my thumbnails is I make the background a little bit darker so that my text can actually pop out a little bit more. So for that, I'm gonna add a curves layer, And I'm gonna bring this down a little bit and put in some contrast, right? A little bit more contrast. Doesn't that really look better? That looks actually way better than it looked before. Next step is I'm gonna add a dust overlay. I like adding overlays to my thumbnails. It makes it a little bit better. So I'm gonna go to Google and look for dust overlay. I'm gonna go to images and I'm gonna look for a nice overlay that I can add to my image. So something like this, right? So I'm gonna copy this, copy image, and I'm gonna go back to Photoshop and I'm gonna paste it into my photo. I'm gonna hold down Option and scale it in so that it fills the dimensions. And I'm gonna change this to screen. Doesn't that really look better? I'm gonna decrease the opacity a little bit because I don't want it to be way too bright. Something like that. So I'm gonna play around with my text color. I think it's a little bit too white. I'm gonna try and change it. I'm gonna change the downer one to something a little bit more vibrant, something easy to spot, something like red, a red color. And I'm gonna play around with the brightness and contrasts of our background. I'm gonna add some saturation to it because we need something that pops out. A little bit more saturation to it would be better. Right. I'm gonna try to change the position of this thumbnail. Scale it in a little bit more so that it looks better. So this looks actually way more better. And to spice it up a little bit more, you can search for a light leak. We are gonna search for a light leak here. And we are going to look for one that isn't way too bright. I'm gonna go with something like this. Then I'm gonna copy it still. Go back to my Photoshop and I'm gonna paste it right here. Then I'm gonna change its blending mode to screen maybe. And put its opacity down a little bit. And boom. You have yourself a nice looking bright thumbnail for your YouTube videos. Last thing I would do is add in an icon, but this is a cooking channel, so we don't need an icons. But let's say you are a gaming channel, right? Let's say you do gaming videos. So I'm gonna go back to unsplash.com and look for gaming. And we are gonna search for a gaming image that really looks nice. I think I'm gonna go with this. This looks really nice. And I'm gonna copy it still, go back to my Photoshop, and I'm gonna paste it into my Photoshop. Boom. This formula works for anything. It already looks nice right here. I just need to change my title, so I'm gonna change this to gaming tutorial. And boom, you have yourself a nice, bright and clean thumbnail. Actually, it's the few small stuff that you put into your thumbnails that make them look really nice. Let's say you are a YouTube channel, right? You give YouTube advice. I'm gonna go back to unsplash.com and I'm gonna search for, let's say I'm gonna search for YouTube, and we have already a perfect picture here, right? I'm gonna bring this picture into my Photoshop. I'm gonna delete this out and I'm gonna paste this right here. So I'm gonna turn this off, bring this in right here, scale it properly, and I'm gonna scale out our title so that it matches with our dimensions. So this plus a little bit more of contrast, make it a little bit darker, right? It already looks nice right here. Only thing you can change is maybe your text title. Since our background is red, I'm gonna change our text to something like a yellow text looks better. And lastly, I'm gonna look for a YouTube icon. I'm gonna look for a YouTube logo without a background. So I'm gonna search for YouTube PNG. I search for a PNG like this, a picture with no background. I'm gonna right click, open image in new tab right here. Then I'm gonna save this because this is a PNG. We need to save it. We can't just copy and paste it into Photoshop. So I'm just gonna save this to maybe my desktop. Click OK. Then I'm gonna drag and drop it into my Photoshop. I'm gonna make sure it's on top so that it's visible. Then I'm gonna scale it down a little bit, make it a little bit smaller, and place it anywhere you really want it. Maybe let's say I'm gonna place it right here. Boom, and your thumbnail is already done. So that plus a little bit of a light leak, change it to somewhere different, and you have yourself a nice looking thumbnail, right? So that's all I had for you today. I really hope you got some value out of this video, and if you did, please hit the like button and hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on my future uploads. Thank you for watching. Peace.